Can you just introduce yourself? Give a 3-minute introduction, and also what district you're running for, or mayor you're running for mayor.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank McMillan. I'm running for District 3. Can you hear me okay? All right, good. I'm glad to be here tonight. Thank you, South Palmway Park, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and learn a little more about me and why I'm running for office. I grew up in South Florida. I've been in South Florida my entire life. I grew up primarily in Delray Beach and most recently in Boynton Beach. And recently I had the opportunity to move to Lake Worth with my wife, Tara. When I came to Lake Worth, I saw the beach issue, and I saw that there were a number of issues and how it was handled. And it was handled very poorly, I believe. It was held out in the sunshine. It was not a public meeting, wasn't a public forum. I believe that this beach is our beach, everyone's beach, regardless of their neighborhood, regardless of their income. Crime has increased in my neighborhood, and it's increased in other neighborhoods as well. In fact, I've had my car broken into two times in the last year. I think our leaders need to be more proactive, and especially in that issue of crime, and to address it and take it head on. Our roads are in terrible condition, and they will continue to get worse. We are going to have to find a solution to this. This is not going away anytime soon. I don't know if it's reallocating money to the roads or if it's a bond issue again. I know that there were some people very upset that it didn't pass, but we need to get this done and improve our infrastructure. And I'm just tired of the people that are in office right now not doing anything about it, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Andy Amoroso. I'm your incumbent for District 3. It's been my pleasure to be your City Commissioner for the last 4 years. And I want to talk a little bit about disconnect. My opponent has only been here for about a year, and there's a huge disconnect because he talked about a couple different things that I don't believe is necessarily true. We spend a lot of time visiting our representatives in Tallahassee and Washington, working on sober homes, working on streets and roads. I spent 2 hours today with the state attorney on crime issues. So to say that this current commission or this current mayor and vice mayor are not doing what we need to do is just not true. And we've been working very hard. We fought to get a bond initiative passed, and it did not pass, and now my opponent wants to bring a bond back. Well, we were working on trying to offset that, which we've always said from day one, with grant funding. We are working in Tallahassee and Washington for additional grant funding, and I would love to bring a bond back, because the biggest thing that we hear is potholes and streets, and I wish we had the money to do it. So to say that we're not working towards fixing these problems is just not true.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Scott Maxwell. I'm your District 1 Commissioner. I currently serve as your Vice Mayor, and I'm very humbled and honored, thank you, to have held that title for the last few years. You know, I want to tell you a little story about how I came to Lake Worth and why I'm doing this job. Hey, some of you have heard the story. If you have, I apologize. You're going to have to listen to it one more time. I came to Palm Beach County permanently in about 1983. Young, simple guy, had a lot of hair, was all one color. Back in the day, probably 50 pounds lighter as well. And I asked around, I said, look, I've got to find a place to live. And people said to me 3 things. Every person to a person told me 3 things. Number 1, do not go to Lake Worth. Number 2, avoid Lake Worth. And number 3, don't you dare go to Lake Worth. I thought, gee, what is going on with Lake Worth? Now, if anybody that's been here since at that time, you can recall that I-95 back then wasn't connected between Palm Beach Gardens and Fort Pierce. All that western development that we see now on the western communities wasn't nearly as intense as it is now. So there was still a great deal of reliance on the West Line and Dixie Highway, the corridor here, to get from the north to the south end of the county. Well, I couldn't see a dime for the difference between West Palm Beach, Riviera Beach, Lake Worth, Lantana, and they all look the same. Well, I met my lovely bride, we got married, and we accidentally bought a house in Lake Worth. Now, I say accidentally because when her family came down from Cleveland, her folks bought a house in Lake Osborne. And when we got married, she goes, I think we should buy a house. I said, okay. And she wanted to buy the house next door to where her parents lived. So I assumed, like a lot of folks assumed, that we were in unincorporated Lake Worth, or unincorporated Palm Beach County, because we were west of I-95. Boy, was I shocked when I got to the closing table and found out. And 1 minute. My point is this. I am so thankful that I didn't know what I was getting into, because my son went to school at Sacred Heart. We had to come into town twice a day, pick him up from school, drop him off to school. We got to see what was going on downtown. We got to meet the people that were in Lake Worth. And I really learned back in around 2000 or so, 1999, how wonderful a town we all have here. And that's why I decided to get involved, because I saw blighted neighborhoods, I saw potholes in the streets, I saw a lagging tax base, and I couldn't understand for the life of me why we couldn't turn that around. So that's why I got involved, and that's been my mission for the last 15 years or so now. I've not served on the commission all those years, but I've worked behind the scenes and as your commissioner on those issues. I've worked on infrastructure, I've worked on reducing your cost of electricity, I've worked on cleaning up the neighborhoods, and those are my priorities, and creating an economic atmosphere in this community.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mayor Pam Trudolo, and I'm seeking the office of mayor for a third term. My husband and I arrived here in 1998. We got engaged, and we started biking up Lakeside, Palmway, Federal, Dixie. We kept going up and down, zigzagging all the streets. And we said, this city is extremely cool, and we want to live here. This is where we want to get married, start a family, and grow old. We love this city. And when I got here, I couldn't figure out how a city with all the resources and amenities that this city had. You know, we sit at the base of one of the wealthiest cities in the world. Forget about the county, the world. We have waterfront parks. We have more parks than any other city in Palm Beach County. We've got an intercoastal golf course. We've got, I mean, look at this place. I mean, we've got all these wonderful resources and amenities, and most important, we've got the arts like crazy. You know, other cities have to use and create an artificial arts district as an economic development tool in their city. We don't. We own it. It's organic, it's real, and it's part of the very fabric. And the diversity in our community is incredible. We're like a giant tapestry of all that's great about America, right here in the city of Lake Worth. But we had serious problems. Major unemployment, major poverty levels, the streets were crumbling, and there was no money to do anything about it. So over the last 4.5 years, I've been working diligently, along with my fellow commissioners up here, to create the plans and the necessary groundwork to go after blight, slum, and crime. Officers in the past couldn't even do their jobs because we had ordinances that would prevent them from going after the bad guys. We had to change those ordinances. We had to give them the ability to do those things. We created over 50 in code alone, just to give them the ability to go after these properties, identify these properties. You remember when the market fell out, the housing crisis? There were hundreds of homes, and we didn't even know who owned them. They had switched so many owners. These ordinances, over 150 of them in totality, have been now installed into our system, and they are, how much time do I have, Lincoln? 1 minute? I'm down to 30 seconds, okay. I really, really want you to look and listen. It's a tough job being mayor. We've got a lot of challenges ahead, but we've finally done our homework, and we are ready to reach our full potential and be the best Lake Worth we can be. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for everybody showing up. Thank you, South Palm Beach. My name is Gary Antio, and I'm running for mayor. I've just seen so much going on that I want to try to put my 2 cents in and change it. 1 minute we hear crime is down, 2 weeks later we hear it's on an uptick. The people, man, woman, and their daughter that was in the commission meeting last Tuesday night, I think they think crime's up when a man was shot and killed on their front porch. We don't know where our safety is in our protection. We're paying something like $19 million a year, and are we getting the full service we're paying for? As for the roads, we gotta somehow brainstorm, get some idea of these roads. The other thing was, I was talking to some employees the other day, and they haven't had a raise in over 7 years. And now they just got a raise the other day, but they have no idea when they're gonna get it. And it's ironic how we're just told to be patient, be patient, be patient. And I think the patience is running out with some citizens. And we want to see something done. There's no maintenance being done. And we'd just like to see more done. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to stay down there. We'll just come back this way with the first question. But first things, I'd like to hold the applause till the end. 1, 2, order from your wait staff, the waiters and waitresses, and don't forget to tip them. For those not from South Palm Park, we get this hall for free based on our volume of food and drinks, so please order up. Okay, first question of the evening. As mentioned earlier, Lake Worth isn't the most affluent town in Palm Beach County, and we have a high homelessness. What is your plan to cure the homelessness in our parks and side streets?
I was in church yesterday and I asked our priest if the churches could get involved at all and come up with some ideas, and he'd never been approached on it, he said. But his answer was yes, the churches could get involved and see if we can't brainstorm, come up with an idea, the whole community with businesses and citizens to either build something, buy something, or get something going for the truly homeless. There are some people that really need our help, and I'd like to help them.
No applause, please.
Managing the situation is very tough because you want to do so, number one, with compassion. That's first and foremost. You also want to keep in mind public safety, too. So you've got to handle it very, very cautiously. Number one, I don't want for 1 second people to think we're not doing anything to help. I've spent 30 years of my life working on homeless issues. My time, my money, my participation. But here in the community, one of the first things we did as a commission, with the help of my fellow commissioners, was to create an ordinance that allows PBSO to transport anyone who needs a roof over their head up to 45th Street. That was first and foremost. They want a place to live, they can go up to the new facility after it was built. In addition, in the last year alone, we have a new Goodwill Center that's going to be housing opportunities for our community. We also have a Lord's Place that's been built here in the last year that's going to offer shelter. And I'm working with Commissioner Shelley Vanna and the County Commission to create new housing opportunities for the homeless, hundreds of new apartments that will go to help the homeless have a permanent home, regardless of whether they're drinking or drugging. So it's a new concept that's being worked on, and Shelley has been fantastic in making sure that we have all been included in that process. Thank you.
You know, one of the challenges in having these types of debates, or forums, or whatever it is, we only have 2 minutes, and I'm going to try not to repeat what others have already said unless I take exception to what's been said. And in addition to what Mayor Panda said, I think there's something we need to remember here. We are one of the poorest communities in Palm Beach County. I know that sounds horrible to say, and sometimes people don't want to hear that. We have 30% poverty, we have double-digit unemployment. Our roads are a mess because we don't take in enough taxes to pay for maintenance and upkeep and upgrades. My point is this: homelessness is a national issue. It's a crisis. It's an absolute crisis, and everyone needs to work together on this: the local level, the county level, the state, and the federal. I would love to be able to go out and build housing for these folks that truly need it. But the reality of it is, I can promise that or suggest that, and everyone in this room knows I could never deliver on that. So I'm not going to, paint a picture that, we can't bring to fruition. However, I am committed, as the mayor is committed, to working with Shelley Bannock, to working with other agencies, to do the very, very best we can to get folks placed. Now, I participated in the homeless event here last Friday or the Friday before, had an opportunity to tour all the different services that were being offered under one roof. And there were probably 2 or 3 dozen different agencies that have opportunities to reach out for one level or another of service for these homeless folks. The trick here is, can we as a community facilitate those services? Can we create like a 2-1-1 type of a program to where we come upon somebody who's homeless and we can point them in the direction and get them the help they need in minutes as opposed to days. And as the mayor said, the sheriff is empowered to help us with that effort. And what we're going to do here is we're going to put together a fact sheet. So when the sheriff encounters these folks, he can say, here's a list of services, there's the number, and if you need a phone, the city certainly will help you make those phone calls and get you taken care of. So that's how I'll help with the homeless situation. Thank you.
I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't have compassion for the homeless, and that includes us. And like both the vice mayor and the mayor said, we have a brand new Lord's Place in the city of Lake Worth. We have a brand new Goodwill industry. I've told the story before, and I'll tell it again. There was an older woman, June. You've probably seen her for years around the city in a wheelchair. Every morning, I would open my store at 8 a.m. and she would be in front. And June and I would have a conversation, and I told her about this new Goodwill industry that's coming and Lord's Place. And I said, June, it's time. Let's get you a place. Well, I'm waiting for my husband. Years ago, they took my husband away. This wheelchair's for him. I'm away from him. I said, June, let's get you a place so you can have a place for your husband to come home to. And every morning we would have this conversation. And every morning it wasn't the right morning for June. Well, there is a place called Lewis Center. They don't have a lot of beds. So a lot of times when PBSO sees somebody in the plaza or downtown, the first thing they do is offer service. But there's not always service available. So this particular morning, June came, and it was a good day for June. Because June was ready to go. And there was a bed at the Lewis Center, and June is now not homeless. So this is what it's about. So for anyone to tell you that we're not aggressively trying to help the homeless and move the city forward, it's just not true.
Just last week, Thursday, I had about an hour-long conversation with somebody from Rethink Homeless in Orlando. And they house 1,000 veterans over the course of 3 years. And speaking with their programs, I know it's just one sect of the homeless situation, but the idea is that we want to get our veterans off the street. And if we can do that relatively easily, these people are chronic, they have access to the HUD BASH programs, which are relatively easy to move them through. And like I said, that's just one little model that we can focus on. Then we can focus on addiction or drugs and slowly attack this problem. I do not believe that the way to attack this is through an ordinance. An ordinance is only going to press these people into the neighborhoods, and it's going to create more crime. So what I'd like to do is really focus on the solutions, nip it in the bud, and we can certainly see where our problems lie in the individual homeless sections. Thank you.
Could you pass the microphone, please? We're just going to keep rotating like this. What is your vision for growth of our downtown corridor, and what types of businesses would you like to see added to it, both national chains and or local?
First of all, growth is really important in our community. People are always using scare tactics all the time, talking about, oh, they're going to build something and investing is bad. First of all, we're really an infill community. We all chose Lake Worth because we like Lake Worth. We like its small town charm. We like the low-rise feel. We like everything that's quaint about this city. But we also can't afford not to have some investment to expand our tax base and lower the burden on all of our residents and families. So we need that infill type of investment. A good look at Dixie Highway. Let's talk about that first. Dixie Highway was the main highway before 95 was even there. All the businesses were lined up there, hotels, motels, all types of things, and traffic moved along there. That was the main thoroughfare. And of course the highway was cut in, and then that became a ghost town. And a lot of people's Dixie highways, Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach, us, Montana, it all became this ghost town filled with prostitution, drugs, crime, all these types of things. A lot of people will not invest in its current condition. That's why this Tuesday, please come to City Hall. We're going to be talking about complete streets, and a new Dixie Highway Revitalization Program that I brought in from the Metropolitan Planning Organization. They're actually, we don't have to fund it, they're looking at funding it. We're trying to move those dollars that were planned on those big projects out west, move them east, because we need it on Dixie Highway and we need it in our downtown. Thank you.
Again, we piggyback on what the mayor's offering up this evening. The NPO is going to come in, we're going to talk about complete streets. One of the things that has been a disincentive for investment in the city, or a couple of things. Number one, our utility rates, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. And the other thing is our local government's not been the easiest to work with. Okay, so we've worked really, really hard the last few years to try to streamline the processes, to make the rules consistent for everybody, to create a can-do, yes, what can we do to make this happen before you attitude. I think that is a key to attracting new business because we've got such a poor reputation outside of these city limits, where folks just don't want to come in and deal with what they perceive to be the haggle of Lake Forest. So we're working very, very hard on that. The other thing we have is we've got some landlords downtown, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I wonder what they're thinking when they ask the price they're asking for square footage for rentals downtown. So what will happen oftentimes is somebody's got a really neat idea, great business model, and they've saved all their lives or whatever they've done to put their money together, and they take that gamble, which is what we all do when we go into business. Unfortunately, oftentimes the rents are so high that they go out of business because they can't afford to stay in business with those rent rates as they are. The other issue is we don't have in the city enough residents that live here that have the discretionary income to spend downtown. So oftentimes our local businesses rely heavily on folks from outside the city, whether it's the folks on the island or in the wintertime, the tourist season. So again, creating a healthier economy overall in the city from the east, the intercoastal all the way to John Bridge Park is pivotal to bringing the downtown back and make it more prosperous. Thank you.
Well, I'm the downtown small business owner. I've been in my current location downtown for 22 years. So I see the value of bringing small business to the town. I come from a CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency background, where I sat on their board. And the first thing I said when I sat on their board is I told them a little story. I went to Lake Worth High and Lake Worth Junior High. When I was in high school, I used to be on a work program, and I would leave school, walk through the blighted area, down to Junior's Restaurant, which is now Sayeto. Anybody been here? And I'd wash dishes at Junior's Restaurant. So when I got on the CRA board, I said, I want to fix this blighted area. My idea of the downtown is from A Street. You get off at the Tri-Rail, you come down. That's more of the international, artsy type of the downtown. Then you walk across Dixie Highway, and you're in the regular entertainment downtown park. And then you walk past Federal, and that's more the hotel district. And the downtown should be from A Street all the way to the beach. And that's what we've been doing. We've been aggressively working on small business. We now have a new program that's going to address Dixie Highway, both north and south through the CRA. We've identified the actual land that's available for rent, for sale, and we're aggressively marketing that to both chain and small business because you need a combination of both. But we've already been working on that for almost a year with the CRA.
I think everybody wants the Gulfstream Hotel. I think almost everybody here can agree that we need this built. It's going to be a catalyst to build future growth. We're going to have more people staying in town, visiting local businesses, and that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that we create a local economy here because that means more tax dollars stay within the city. It's not going to a chain that's going to California or New York or wherever it may be. All that tax money is staying here and that revenue is staying here. So I think it's very important. And it is going to start with this hotel. I hope it doesn't get stuck in litigation or anything like that. I really want it to be moving forward, and that would be one of the first things I would do in the office, was to make sure if there's anything I can do to help them get that Gulfstream Hotel built. Thank you.
Andy, I think we need the rebuttals after everyone speaks. You're up for the rebuttal.
Yes, I hear about the art district from 8th Street to Dixie, and then restaurants from Dixie to Federal or whatever. I'd like to see some clothing stores, some shoe stores, candle stores. You can't make a town survive just on art and restaurants. You need other stuff to keep the people in town. Otherwise, they're going to be out on 10th Avenue at Walmart and we want to keep them in here. Thank you.
Rebuttal to Andy, 1 minute.
Just real quick, my opponent said he'd like to see the Gulfstream reopen. I think we all want the Gulfstream reopen. But as early as last week, the opponent that I beat out 4 years ago, Joanne Golden, filed a lawsuit with the city against the city and the Gulfstream. So we don't quite sure know, we don't know where that's going yet, but I find it hard to believe that former Commissioner Joanne Golden that supports my opponent filed a lawsuit that may stop the Gulfstream. So do your research before you vote March 15th.
Yeah, you know, I think there are a lot of people that support me in this room, and it doesn't matter really what they're standing for is against this current commission. And all the secret meetings that have gone on with this Gulfstream Hotel, with planning and zoning, and I don't think there was an open discussion, and I think that's what they're upset about. There are plenty of successful hotels that are 4 stories, and in fact in Delray, in downtown, there's a Hyatt hotel that's about 2/3 the parcel of what the Gulfstream is, and actually has less room, and it is very successful. So I want this to be built, whether it's the Gulfstream or Hyatt or whoever builds this hotel, I just want it to be within the comp plan and with the height limits that all the people voted on. Thank you.
Mic goes to Mr. Maxwell. As you are running, most of you are either running to be elected or re-elected.
Serve two purposes when you're running for mayor. One is to represent your district, the other is to represent the city of Lake Worth. What are your top 2 goals for your district and your top 2 goals for the city if elected or re-elected?